So my contention is that most guys can be in that top 10% of guys,
I
right?
agree.
So what can they do to get there? I think a lot of guys think that they can't be. They're like, oh, well, it's just Chad genetics. You got to have the Chad genetics.
Yeah, but those are easy. Those are the imps. So we're not talking to them anyway.
Mm.
I think a man that wants to be in the top and who knows that he can. Okay. I get nervous before doing interviews. Like before I came here, I get nervous. I get sweaty and just feel weird
Just have a little bit
because
of scotch.
that's really good advice, but I didn't today. But I said to myself, okay, Molesky, what could you do to not get nervous anymore? The answer is do this every day.
Right, that's true.
Every day. Reach out to people and have good interviews, have bad ones, until you're like, whatever. I have so many in the books, it doesn't even matter anymore. I've gotten so good at it, or I've gotten so bad at it that I know where to sharpen, where my skill set is low. So exposure, I would say. Expose yourself to uncomfortable things, not once. Because if you do it once, you're going to go home and then you're just going to bury yourself in shame or think about what went wrong. But go out again and again and again. And I always say on my YouTube channel, I talk about my meetup. Okay, so I host a meetup I have for 3 years every Tuesday, pretty much without fail. It's really good for, it started with 5 people and now I kind of handed it over, but it's 12 to 16. And at its peak, it was like 30 people every day, 30 people that counted on it. And the friendships and the relationships that have started because of that, but it was exposure. And almost everyone in that meetup has contacted me in some way saying, thank you for creating that because it changed my life. I was nervous. I was in a bad spot. I was depressed. And then I found people to be familiar with every day or every week. And that exposure made me a little bit more confident. And then the spiral begins in a good way. Right. So exposure. And then I don't think that there's a certain thing to focus on. I think it is to your own self, be true, know thyself. What are you interested in? Really? Is it math? Okay. Khan Academy, here I come. And then going to math competitions or talking about math. And you can talk. I live by the Broadmoor. That's one of the best resorts in the world. And they just canceled the Space Symposium. But I remember a couple of years ago being like, oh, the Space Symposium, I'm going to go and just talk to people about math. I don't know anything about it, but people, because I can mingle, were able to talk to me. That was exposure for someone who's into that. So I would just say, if you're into fighting, get into jujitsu and spar and get to know people. And that's it. And then get in front of other humans. I think I just said the same thing for 5 minutes.
No, that's so exposure. I mean, getting and the right kind of exposure, right? I just saw a video from a guy on YouTube. I guess I'll just say his name, LFA, because I like some of his stuff, but some of the stuff I disagree with. But he was talking about how exposure therapy doesn't work, and he was telling guys, he's like, look for choosing signals and only approach the girls that, otherwise you're gonna approach these girls and they're gonna reject you, and then you're gonna just think worse about yourself. And I had to disagree with him because I just had a coaching client last night that I was telling him, and I was like, look, dude, I was like, when you go up and we're gonna get some exposure therapy, don't go up to girls and don't make your expectation of a win being that you have a positive outcome, like get a phone number or go on a date, whatever. Have your expectation of a win be you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, because you can win 100% of the time there. And every single interaction gives you a level up. You're gaining experience. You're going to level up, guaranteed, right? If your expectation is that it will go well and that's your win, then you're going to 90% of the time you're going to have a bad outcome. But if your outcome is, like you said, exposure, I want to put myself in a difficult situation, like you said with the interview. I think that's a good one. Is it's like, if you're like, okay, the reason why I'm doing all these interviews is not because I want to have a stellar performance. It's because I want to make it so that I'm better at doing this. I'm more resilient to the fear of this and the nervousness. Then every single time you do it, you've got to win under the belt, because you've made it yourself that much stronger in that respect.
Maybe that's it. Fear eradication. Figure out what you need to do to eradicate your fear, and then do it.
Being
And you know, if you go sorry, if you go up to 20 women with the expectation that you're just going to say hi or make them laugh or whatever, one time it's going to happen. It's just going to like flow a little bit easier, and that's really attractive to women. They're like,
right.
oh, I think he's just hanging out with me, you know. And then there's no threat. I don't have to go, well, I don't think I'd want to date him because he looks like this, or it's just more calm. And then 3 hours later you've both had a really good time, and she says, was there any way you were going to ask me for my number, because I think I'd like that. It will happen.
Right.
Some guys don't want to do that. Fine, but there is a path, and if you are interested, I'd say that is a really great path. So I'm with you in being against his advice.